Good morning Year 10 and welcome to the first lesson on a new topic of congruence and similarity. 5 lessons in this topic, and we're starting today with some definitions and then a bit of an introduction, moving on to more complicated stuff as we go through. But the start is at grade 1, so straightforward, should be quite easy today. So the first thing we want to be able to do is we want to be able to define these two words. So if two shapes are congruent, well, that means they are exactly the same. Now that means they could be rotated, they could be twisted, they could be flipped, but they're exactly the same. And the easiest way to find this out is to use tracing paper. Okay, so in the exam we use tracing paper for lots of things, but this is another place where you can use that tracing paper. Now if you haven't got tracing paper today, some baking paper would do, or if needs be, a plastic sleeve would probably do the same job. Similar is different to congruent. Similar means they are an enlargement, so shapes are an enlargement of each other. So an enlargement of each other. Now, key thing here is if they're an enlargement of each other, the angles will stay the same. So the angles will stay the same. So the angles won't change, the shape will just get bigger. So our first task today is to look at some of those different things, and as we go through this topic we'll get involved in some of the definitions and how to find out whether things are congruent or similar. So our first task today is the sheets that are attached, and there's 2 different sheets. I'm just going to give you a little example from the first one, but then you can work your way through and then you check your answers and give me a score. So the first sheet, we've got 4 different shapes at the very top, and you've got to decide which shapes below are congruent to the shapes and which shapes are similar. So I'm going to start with rectangle A. Now, just like I recommended, I'm going to use some tracing paper and I'm going to trace rectangle A, because we know for things to be congruent they can be flipped over. So I'm just going to check against this first one here. Well, clearly they're not the same shape, but they look like they might be similar. Now as I go through the sheet, just going to scroll down, okay, there is at least one congruent shape to every shape at the top. Now this shape looks very similar, it's been turned and twisted, but let's see if my tracing paper goes over exactly. It does, and so I'm going to label it as congruent to shape A. Okay, and I can work all the way through the sheet and find that out. Second sheet, very similar. Work your way through, check your answers, upload your pictures and your score please. Have a good day.